Dude, we're back in the lab.
Oh, we're back.
We're back.
We're live?
We're live.
Let's get it.
So, Jason Stewart.
What's up?
The one and only. So, bro, I saw you went on a trip.
I went on a trip.
And tell me about the trip.
All right. So first I'll tell you how I ended up going on this trip. So went to Elevator Nights. Dan Fleshman puts it together. Known him for a long time. He speaks at my events. Great friend to a lot of people. Great motivator and a great friend to a lot of people. He was doing his Elevator Nights. I'm there. You know.
What is Elevator Nights?
Elevator Nights is a free event that he does regularly. He does it I think every month. He's done I don't know, 100 of them or something.
Yeah.
And I remember going to one years and years ago when I had short hair in San Diego. And, Billie Jean and a bunch of people spoke there, some friends of ours. And so he was putting it together, and it was the night before Aspire. Aspire is this big event that he does charge for, and he has 2,000 people there. And Elevator Nights is a free one where he has a couple hundred people or whatever.
Invitation only.
No, Elevator Nights is open to the public.
Oh, okay.
Anyone can go. It's crazy that people don't show up to these things because it's great networking, really cool people.
Yeah.
So I was grabbing some food for me and the kids. I took the kids out of school so they could come to the Elevator Nights and to Aspire. Actually, Elevator Nights, they were already out of school, but the next day was Aspire, and I wanted to take them to that as well. And this guy just kind of came up to the bar. He had ordered something too, and I was just ordering some food, and I was going to go eat it with my kids. And he invited me to sit down with his wife. We kind of was talking a little bit, and we had a bunch of mutual friends. And next thing you know, I told him, no, I'm going to go eat with my kids. But then they were busy hanging out with friends and stuff. And I was like, well, come grab your food. And since you're playing, and I'm going to sit with them. So I sat with them, and wife ended up being really into cars, and I have a bunch of cars. And next thing you know, they're inviting me, after some conversation, they're inviting me to this trip. And I was like, oh, the trip, I don't know. I don't know if that's going to work for me. I'm not going to know anyone on this trip. And you don't know us, And
yeah.
And they told me the date, and I was like, immediately, no, it's my son's birthday. Can't make it. They're like, all right, well, if anything changes, and we're talking more about other things. And they keep talking more about the trip. Well, we're going to take a private jet to the Dominican Republic. We're staying they start showing me the house. And I was like, this isn't even a house. It's like a mini city. It's like a compound. You know? It's beautiful, right on the water. I was like, let me text his mom real quick. And his mom was like, do you have plans for his birthday? Because my plans are the following weekend. I'm doing this thing for him. She's like, yeah, on his birthday, I'm picking him up from school. We're going to, her dad's house, his grandfather's. And I was like, so I'm not going to see him that day anyway. And she's like, no. I was like, because I was thinking about taking this trip. Go. So I talked to my son, and my son's like, yeah, I would definitely go if I was you. We're having a party a different day. I'm not going to, you're just going to take me to school, and that's it. So, and they kept asking me, are you going to go, or have you figured it out yet? Yeah. And for a week, they're asking me.
You're like a Willy Wonka golden
they
ticket.
really want me to go. Are you sure you want me to go? So I said, okay, I can make it. They sent me the paperwork, and it's if you miss the trip for whatever reason, you owe us $15,000 because it's, it's a private jet. Those things are really expensive, and this house is really expensive. And then once I got there, I didn't realize they have full staff, lots of staff, security, private chefs, Dominican people just helping us with everything that you could imagine. Anything you want, there's staff on hand at all times. The staff even started, I don't eat meat. I was the only one there that had diet restrictions, which I hate to be that guy, but I just haven't had meat in 13 years. And so they started making me special things just for me. And I was like, these guys are awesome. There was a gift that they left for everyone, but it was a bottle of really nice, alcohol and a cigar. Two things I don't do. So I ended up gifting it to one of the main staff, one of the Dominican guys. He was super excited. So the event was incredible. There was fire dancers, there was private chefs, it was, and the people that they brought. So everyone there had the ability to drop $500,000 on an investment if they wanted to. And that was the minimum investment for a company that they're starting. Yeah. And so I was thinking, if they're paying for all of this, it's got to be a pitch fest, right? It's got to be the whole time they're there, they're trying to sell you on something, right? Yeah. To try to get their money back. Where's the catch? And it really wasn't. It was they went over everything for an hour hour and a half or so. Had the CFO, the CEO, the this, the that, whatever speak. It's a new app that's called Breakout. And then there's a sister company that they marry to it. So it's like education and mentors that you can have like a whole database of their information and videos, but you also have access to them on hand, mixed with the app that's like it's like Clubhouse if they did everything right. So Clubhouse was the most addictive social media app in the history of social media. Everybody gravitated to it. It grew way faster than anyone could have imagined. People were staying on it. Like myself, I got on it and I didn't leave for 3 days straight. Like I didn't, like my phone was on the charger. I'm sleeping with it. I'm in the shower with it. It was on constantly. And it was, it's an audio app.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they made,
just to rewind onto the app itself. So we got our sales staff next door. If you guys hear people shouting, it's all good. Because we got our dialers that do wholesale and flips and all that kind of investment opportunities. So it's our day.
They're finding me some deals right now.
They're finding some deals right now.
I just met Amanda.
You hear people screaming in the background
Justin,
because they're high-fiving.
Amanda's finding me deals in Riverside. Justin's finding me deals in San Diego. And and Amanda even told me about another person that could potentially find me some deals just in case her database doesn't come up with it. So I'm actively looking.
But here's a crazy thing though, because when I went to Dan his first event, so my buddy Leon, one of Dan's old friends from like college, his first event before they did the 100 million.
The 100 million club.
The 100 million club, and it was like the inaugural event, and it wasn't that big. It was like it was a house in Rancho Santa Fe.
Oh, the elevator nights.
No, it wasn't even elevator nights. It was just like
I remember when he did the Rancho Santa Fe thing. Yeah.
Right? Did you go to that?
Mm-mm.
No. So
I was home with my kids. I remember that day.
But it was just really random because I didn't even know why we were there. It was just like, hey, we're going to be talking about business, and one of the guys there. I mean, I think in that little venue, and there was maybe 25, 30 of us total.
Mm-hmm.
There was like 2 billionaires in there.
Yeah.
Right. So at first, my thinking, which is kind of weird, and I'm sure you're probably thinking the same thing, it's like, what am I doing here? Like, this is out of my league, number one, right? Mm-hmm. And then number two, man, this is such a gift. I get to see how other people think.
Yeah.
Which is kind of weird.
That was my whole time. Like, normally I go to these things, like little networking type events and stuff, and it's like, I kind of do the coolest thing. Like I have a fight promotion. I got exotic cars. It's kind of like I'm the interesting guy. And here I was just like felt the least accomplished. And then like, luckily everybody started complimenting me like, you're the life of the party and you brought the best energy and you made this whole thing 10 times more fun. And everybody gravitated towards me on that. But literally like Brian Page, who put it all together and lost his passport last minute and ended up not being able to attend any of it. He was there for like a few hours and had to leave. But he's the guy that, remember on Grant Cardone when he had that guy talking about Airbnb arbitrage? Yeah. And that video went viral? That was him. And so he could exit that company right now, I'm sure, for $200-300 million easily. Yeah. Easily. And he just started that company in like 2017, I think. Mm-hmm. So think about in a matter of 6 years, you just come up with an idea, create like some educational products around it, and you could exit that for, multiple 9 figures if you wanted. There was a friend of mine who I got really close with. He created these colleges, and they were like kind of vocational, like this stuff, like podcast stuff, video stuff, like learning audio and all this stuff. And he created brick and mortar colleges, and he's like selling them for $20 million right now. And that's after a few of them closed and didn't survive COVID. So at one point they were worth $100 million. Yeah. And so like all of these guys, some of them a few years younger than me, a few years older than me, had done really big things, and it was like 15 of us. The biggest guy on Clubhouse, Nelson, I'm tight with now, and he's like best friends with Grant Cardone. They talk to each other every day. He FaceTimed him while we were there. So he was really excited because he sees where Clubhouse has screwed up. And Grant Cardone left the platform, and I think they lost more than 80% of their users because they kept doing all these features that the techie guys thought would be cool, but never asked the users, never asked the people who were doing it. Nelson has a room every day with thousands of people in it. Every single night he does it. And it's like never asked him, like, That's the guy you need to ask what you need. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're paying other people to come in and, other influencers who aren't on Clubhouse to come there instead of paying the people who are already using it and having audiences and investing in them. So
that's what's so strange though. I think there's like this disconnect because like many times I think within these companies, they do hire these techie feature type stuff.
Yeah.
But if you're going to build a race car, and it's awesome that you have all this technological advantage, why wouldn't you ask your Mario Andretti's? Why wouldn't you ask like the driver, hey, can I get some of your input?
This brakes harder. And it's like, I don't need harder. I need smoother.
I need this to feel this way.
Yeah.
I need it to da-da-da.
And that's where they dropped the ball. So they're creating something with all the knowledge they have of that. They opened it up and got tens of thousands of people right away. And they actually closed it down because they didn't want to make... they closed it down to new users because they didn't want it to grow as fast as Clubhouse did and make the same mistake. So they want to make sure that they have everything right so people don't get a bad taste in their mouth.
Yeah.
And then that guy Nelson is 100% on board. He has a great influence, and everyone there was all about it. And so that was really interesting. But literally, we talked about business for like an hour and a half. The rest of it was just us getting to know each other and talking about business, talking about family, talking about childhood. One guy broke his neck in a car accident in like 92 or 94. And he was telling me how he came back he was a super motivated entrepreneur even then, but he was really young. And then, talked about his comeback, and he had a billionaire mentor and his dad was a mentor, but his dad was very successful, but never gave him anything. And I'm just getting all these, like, that's how I am with my kids. It's like, you got to earn it all.
Right.
And, and so I just learned, and it's funny because so I had to fly to Miami. I ran into some funny story about that. So I land in Miami at like 5:30 in the morning, and I'm like, okay, got reception. Let me just text the people I know in Miami, and when they wake up, they're probably not up yet. They could text back. And one of my girlfriends was like, "Oh, we're still out partying. You should come here." I was like, "Come there." Like, you're still out? Like, nothing is going on at 5:30 in the morning in San Diego.
Yeah.
He's like, here's the address. Like, text me when you get here. I'm like, she's not playing. So I was like, screw it, I go. And then next thing you know, I'm at this like penthouse and I'm walking in and she's like, you made it. And it was like, the sun was coming up like an hour later.
Yeah.
And I met a bunch of cool people, exchanged a bunch of info. I just noticed I had a bunch of messages from those guys. It was just like a cool party with a bunch of people.
Miami's the only other place I think I would live outside of San Diego.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I used to have a condo. You know where Brickell Key is?
Is that in Miami?
Yeah.
I don't know anything about Miami.
So it's downtown. So the building in itself.
Oh, Brickell?
Yeah.
That's where we were. That's where the place
so Brickell,
was.
Little Bitty Island is Brickell Key, like the Little Bitty Island right there on the
Oh, okay. We were off
the
of
inlet.
that. I saw that on the map. Is that the Rich Island? Brickell?
No, the Rich Island is across.
Yeah.
It's south to South Beach. It's like I forget what the name of that island's
I
called.
remember I was in Brickell something at some point. I was there.
Yeah, Brickell's like part of like their downtown. It'd be like not like our gas lamp kind of. I guess it's like the place where like everybody kind of goes. Everything. It's like right there by the Intercontinental Hotel and all that. Yeah.
So I landed 5:30, 6 o'clock. They're opening the door for me at this like penthouse where there's a whole party going on. Sun comes up, and by like 7 something, I'm like, all right, I need to go get some sleep. And as I'm leaving, the guys start coming out that I just met, and like they left a little bit after me, and they're like, we're going to the club. Do you want to go? It's like 7:30. The sun's completely out, and I'm like, going to the club. So I go to my hotel, but of course they don't let me check in.
Yeah.
So I just go out by the pool and try to like take a nap in one of the lawn chairs.
Yeah.
Don't even get like an hour of sleep, and then they finally let me check in, and then I go have lunch with my friend Mello, and met her in San Diego like 20 something years ago. We're still really close, and got to see her baby, and then we take a private jet over to Dominican Republic, and we're there for like 2 or 3 days, and it was just the most incredible. I was doing a bunch of backflips off the wall. You see on my Instagram.
Yeah.
I was like doing all these suies and like flying squirrels, and the very last jump, as we're like, we're getting picked up, everything was top notch, like private cars and like the whole like Maybach style like vans with the lights and the whole party inside, like the Sprinters. And 10 minutes before we're supposed to get picked up, I do this backflip with my buddy Greg, my new friend I met there. And he's jumping at the same time, and I kind of got distracted, and I twisted a little bit, and I landed too close to the wall, and I hit my foot on a rock. So I don't know if you noticed, I've been walking on my toe. My heel hasn't touched the ground all day, and it's 100 times better than it was yesterday. But yeah, so then I was just like, oh God, it was so painful, and I had to like get to the airport, and I was gonna stay another day or two, but between my kids, my daughter was like calling me, crying, missing me, you know, and then my son got suspended, and then I went today because today was his first day back after his 2-day suspension. Yeah, and they were like, you know, not making excuses for him, but I think he missed you. I think he was like really missing you, and he was kind of acting out, and then my foot too, like I couldn't walk, so I was just like, when I got back, I was gonna like go find a hotel somewhere or something, and I hadn't bought my return flight, but I just bought it like for the next flight out and came straight back. But man, I said we went there as strangers. No one knew each other. Yeah, it was like a bunch of heavy players, like the biggest Latino education company. This guy Tony, he lives in Miami actually. The Contis, who are the ones that I met and put it together, like heavy hitters, and everybody just really big for making a change. So we went there as strangers, and we flew back as family. So we're on the private jet trying to get to know each other. Yeah. And then on the way back, it was like, these are my brothers, man. Like,
that's awesome.
It was like we were all just so connected.
You know, because the last time we had talked, we were talking about like vibrations and the energy and staying positive and putting that stuff out there, right? Mm-hmm. And it's really weird how very little simple things like that come up in life, and we don't recognize the opportunity flash itself.
Dude, I was like, no, instant no. Yeah. 100% no. And then it was like, and someone had said something at one of the speakers about like the power of yes.
Yeah, I was about to say that, like the power of yes. Because you always hear the power of no, and you hear the power of yes.
Yeah, exactly. Right? So there's a combination. It's like, you have to say no to stuff that doesn't align with your goals. Yeah. We're going out drinking tonight. It's like, well, what's my goals? Yeah, what's my goals? If there's someone there that you need to mingle with to help you get to your goals, maybe that's part of it. Yeah, yeah. Or if it's like, I got to get this website up and or whatever, well, maybe you need to stay home and work on that, whatever. But the power of saying yes to potential opportunities, and me and my friend were like, I can't believe they were like begging us to come to this, like trying to convince us to come. We should have been begging to get on this jet, you know?
I had you known, right? Yeah, like, but you just don't know. You know, you just don't know. Yeah. So when I went to that first meetup group, right, and one of the guys I was sitting on lunch with, he was one of the kickers for like the Giants, right, and he had his thing, and then some other guy was from Vegas, and he owned like a chain of gyms, and everybody that was kind of there, so it felt strange at the first time. Right. But you know what's funny though is like when they were talking about simple things in business was email campaigns. So sitting there, I'm trying to just learn something. I'm like, I got to get something out of this. He goes, you know, right now, it was a guy from First Form. First Form was Andy
Frisella.
Yeah. So
him and Dan are like, Dan always says he's going to bring him to my fights, and then
he's talking about like his email campaign, and everybody knows because the emails come in his name. He goes, so just something simple to change it up. He goes, I put the emails on my assistant's name, and we look at the opening rate. And he's like, well, all of a sudden the opening rate like doubled. And then they just started playing with basic emails. He's like, we have millions of people on our email campaigns. And the point is that you don't always have to keep following your same game plan. He's like, then one of them, we just started laughing and we're like, who farted? Is like the subject line. Yeah. Right? Because when you take protein shake and all that kind of stuff, makes some people gassy, right? Mm-hmm. And he's like, all of a sudden the clicks went like to like 80% opening, right? And he goes, but I'm only saying this because sometimes you have to just think out of the box and don't get stuck in your daily routines. These small little tweaks, you may piss somebody off. You may open up new doors. You just be open to this. And I just sat there listening. I'm like, wow, this is deep. Yeah, this is deep. So that's one of the things that, at least when those opportunities open up like that, you start really realizing. Yeah, it's hard to express the way that certain people think in recognizing silver linings in certain things. They see the opportunity where other people see maybe an obstruction or
well, that's funny you say that. So back on the private jet theme, we were in Tahiti, and there's this like tour you can take where you go all the way up the volcano and all the way down like the other side, and then you kind of come back around to where you start. And when we're up there, we start eating. There's like a restaurant at the top of the volcano. It's beautiful. Tahiti is one of the most beautiful places on the planet.
Yeah.
And this volcano was unreal. We probably saw, side note, 300 and something waterfalls just on that volcano. Like, you'll look at a mountain from far and you're like, this is something to where if you made it on like a fantasy type of painting or some CGI, you'd be like, you overdid it with the waterfalls. It's not even realistic anymore. You would look across and you could see 20 waterfalls in just one spread. Just like waterfall there. This one turns into two. This one. It's just like incredible. And we get up to the top and we're having lunch and we're sitting with these other people. It's like, what are you guys doing here? And they're the staff of this private jet. And they're like, yeah. So basically they paid a lot of money, like multiple six figures is what they pay for this trip to take a private jet. Private jets are expensive. I got another friend who's he's part of this company where they're revolutionizing it and making it super affordable. They got these jets that are super energy efficient. It can fit 4 adults, 2 kids, and he'll go into that better than I could, but it's like a fraction of the cost, super effective. And there's going to be like 5,000 different airports for them all around the country. But for them, it's like multiple six figures. And so they basically fly there, and they were going to hang out there for 6 days. So they basically have to put them up for 6 days. So they're getting a free vacation, the whole staff, for 6 days.
Yeah.
And then they fly them back because it's cheaper to do that than it is to fly it back and then come back.
I have a friend that does that.
Yeah. And so I was like, hey, if you guys are ever like going someplace and like, you know, you have to take the jet back and it's empty, or there's like extra room on the jet for whatever reason, because a lot of people do one-way trips on these jets.
Yeah.
Let me know.
Yeah.
And they're like, you know how many people tell us that? We have so many friends and family that tell us that. It happens all the time. And we shoot the texts out, and to this day, not one person has jumped on it. $30,000 trip on a private jet per person, bring you and your kids, whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, I would, but work. Oh, I would, but this. Oh, I would.
Yeah.
I would, but then I'd have to buy my flight back. It's like, buy your $250 tickets to come back and enjoy this experience on the private jet. They're like, everyone says that, but no one takes it up on it. Greg Reed has a funny thing where he says that he basically got the same letter that Napoleon Hill got from Carnegie, where he was like, Carnegie said, I want you, 19-year-old kid, to go interview the most successful people in the world.
Right.
He's like, I would love to, and do it for 20 years.
Yeah.
And don't get paid. And don't get paid.
Yeah.
He said, gladly, but they won't speak to me. He's like, they will when they get the letter from me telling them to, because they all know and respect me, even if they don't like me. And so he got the letter. So fast forward.
By the way, when Carnegie asked him that, he said, I gave you 30 seconds to make a decision. If you didn't make the decision, you weren't the guy.
Yep. Yeah. He had a timer, and he had like, I think it's a minute.
A minute, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a minute. And he said, when he said yes, he clicked his timer and he looked, and it was like 47 seconds left because he made the decision in like 13 seconds.
Yeah.
And so he got
back to the power of yes, though.
Back to the power of yes. It changed his life, and and Napoleon Hill. How many people has he lives has he changed?
That's what I was
Ours.
say. Yeah. I read that book.
If we mentor someone,
probably at least I've heard it on audio no less than 10 times.
So my friend Brian Sidorsky says he makes $1 million every time. He makes at least $1 million every time he reads the book. So everyone's instantly like, okay, how many times have you read the book? And he's like, over 500 now.
Shut up.
They're like, so you mean you're worth 500,000? He's like, no, I'm worth a lot more than that, but I make at least $1 million every time I read the book.
Yeah.
So he's been reading it on repeat his whole life.
Wow.
The book that he says he would recommend above that book to his grandchild is Maximum Achievement by Brian Tracy, because it takes it into that book, puts it into very actionable and very more easy to understand. And I got to admit, when I first read Think and Grow Rich, and I was 24 when I read it. So when I look at 24s now that are...
Same.
But it went over my head. I couldn't... As like desire, okay, give me some actionable stuff. Faith? Oh, come on, not this fluffy stuff.
Bro.
But when you fast forward and I saw The Secret, learned
The
put
Secret
science
is a chapter of the book.
Yes, it's one chapter.
It's just one chapter.
But the problem is that chapter and other chapters where it's talking about faith and desire and all of that stuff, they put science to it. Your brain waves can actually be measured.
That's right.
And they actually interact with things physically.
That's right.
And so when you say, oh, okay, it's not just think about what you wanted it to happen. No, that's real. You think because you're on a vibration, you're matching, because if you're on 90.3, you're never going to hear country because it's a hip hop station.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's not that there's not country music all around you and alternative music all around you. You're just not on that frequency.
That's right.
It's a different thing.
That's right.
And when you think like, so you don't understand brainwaves and you can't see them, so you don't think they're real. Have you ever used a microwave? Have you ever listened to the radio? Have you ever used a cell phone, a computer? Like all of this is Wi-Fi and different signals. And so when you break it down like that, it makes sense. So Greg Reed got that letter from the Napoleon Hill Foundation, and Steve Wozniak got it, and the founder of Chick-fil-A, Truett, got it, and all these people got it. And then it was like, you owe it to this guy. He's the next Napoleon Hill. We've picked him out, and he's going to create it. And so he says, whenever he speaks, he's like, how many of you would have come with me if, you get this golden ticket to go sit and travel all around the world and interview the most successful people on the planet, and everybody in the room raises their hand. He said, you're all a bunch of liars because I asked hundreds of people to come and every single one had an excuse. And it's just like, imagine going to see these, people who literally changed the planet one way or another.
Why do you think that is, though?
I think it's a couple things. I think for one, you can have excuses or results, and most people don't get a lot of results.
Do you think that there's like some kind of innate fear inside of them?
And it's also that, like, you have a financial thermostat, and it stays there for a reason. And we're like, why are we broke? Why are we broke? It's little things that you do or don't do because you're just not on that frequency.
Yeah.
You're not attuned to it. It would be uncomfortable for the average person to take on a job where they're making $1 million a year.
Yeah.
I'm the CEO of XYZ.
Yeah.
I would rather be back with my friends where we all make 50 grand and we're talking about gossip and we're drinking beers on the, it's way more comfortable over there. This is uncomfortable for me.
Yeah.
That's why most lottery winners go back to zero. And so I think it's just this little blockages that people have. Same thing about the guy who is convinced that he has bad genetics or is big boned or it must be
always
nice
using
to be.
that, yeah.
Always using that. And it's like, you realize that it's not rocket science. Burn more calories than you eat, you'll lose weight. Create a habit where you work out every day. But it's like, some people will go their whole life and they'll never pick up that habit and they know it's killing them. But it's so much more comfortable over here to going in the gym. I have a
crazy
fear
that you
of
say
it.
that, bro, because people are only motivated in life by two things: pleasure or pain. Mm-hmm. That's it.
Pleasure, pain, fear,
pleasure,
greed.
pain,
Yep.
fear, greed, love, and hate. They're only stuck in two places, right? And when something makes you get too cold and makes you feel a little uncomfortable, they go back to that middle lukewarm section, right? There's that aspect.
Yep.
But then there's the subconscious aspect that could be from trauma. Maybe because someone told you something at one time.
Parent yelled at you.
Parent yelled at them.
Parent yelled at you that money doesn't grow on trees.
Yeah, money doesn't grow on trees. Don't you know? You're about to talk to your mom about something. She's having a conversation with somebody else, and she just goes, shh, quiet. And just that moment that taught you to shut up.
Yeah.
Right?
Never do that again.
Never do that again. So, it's, and I get it. It's hard to get out of that mindset. But that's where we need to learn as humans to detach and to really see things from a 10,000 foot view. It's okay to dream big. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with it.
And more importantly, it's okay to fail.
And it's okay.
Because if I'm trying to hit this, $1 million goal, and I only make 100,000, then I failed.
Well, there's a whole other reasons to that because, I'm sure you've had failures and setbacks in your life.
Way more than successes.
We all do. Right?
I'm running at a 90% failure rate, and every successful person is.
Exactly.
You fail your way to success.
There's certain moments in time and in life when you I know feeling this. You're on a high, right? The real estate market cycle before the previous boom bust, right? So back in '08. So prior '08, I bought my first investment property when I was 24. My first fourplex by state. I had my first $1 million in the bank in cash. I was 29, right? So
It's impressive.
yeah, and I had 6 stores at the time, right?
6 stores?
6 doors.
Oh, 6 doors. Yeah.
Yeah, 6 doors. I had a fourplex and a couple a condo and another house, and I was buying another house. I was trying to do it all before I was 30, right? It's just a goal, think and grow rich. Okay. What was weird was having conversations with old friends from high school that were on the Groundhog's Day path.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with working for the phone company and you get your daily salary. And
there's a lot of people I wouldn't wish entrepreneurship on. It's like you would not be able to handle that stress. Like
it's a lot of stress.
Yeah.
It is genuinely a lot of stress. But it takes a certain individual. And it takes also an individual that has wherewithal.
Yeah.
Because when you do have those setbacks, there's one of 3 things that you're either going to do. Either you get stuck and recognize and say, you know what, fuck it, I give up. I'm always going to be a loser. This is my new destiny, right? 2, you go to the dark side and say, you know what, I was trying to do these things the right way. I'm going to do them this way instead and just screw people over, and that's my way to get money. Because some people do that.
Yeah.
I've seen people do that,
Oh,
especially
yeah,
when
yeah.
I've lent money and stuff.
Oh, tell me about
it. Makes people really
I got some
weird.
money out right now where it's like I'm trying not to catch a case over.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No, I hear you on that one. And it's really strange because you think to yourself, you know what? This was a blessing to you and I'm helping you. And then there's individuals with the same wavelength that go to the light and say, you know what? It's all good. They're going to learn their life lesson. This is what's going to happen. Those are the consequences, but I'm still going to keep charging to grow. I'm going to keep charging to build. I have destiny to fulfill. I'm not done yet. And every day, I'm not done yet. And this shit's fun. Oh, the market sucks. Dude, you don't know the opportunity right now.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
The last time the market sucked was the best year of my real estate career from the amount of transactions I did. So
I told my wife the same thing.
Prices had dropped by 50 to 60%. And everyone's like, the real estate market's bad. The real estate market bad. It's like, to who? If it's bad, here's the thing.
It's all perception.
If it's bad for buyers, it has to be good for sellers and vice versa to an extent. Now the rates can kind of mess things up, but even then it's bad for, let's just say, the rates go up and the prices drop, but the mortgages is even higher.
Yeah.
Now it's bad for the sellers and it's bad for the buyers getting loans.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people out there with cash that are like, this is great for me. So the market's always great for someone.
Well,
when the market's going up, everyone's like, oh, the real estate market's good. The real estate's market good. Not for the buyer that never got in there and doesn't have any properties riding that goodness up. And now they got to buy our median property was $1 million. I think it is again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, but there was a fraction of time where it was 800 just like a couple months ago. Like properties dropped like 20%. News didn't talk about it. I'm seeing it. I'm seeing properties not selling, and fine, I'll take that offer. Fine.
I'm seeing $3 million properties get price cuts. They're almost more than 20% price cuts.
Yeah.
And so
no one's talking about it. So it's like,
unless you're in tune with it, like what we do though on a day to day, and we're paying attention to it.
Yeah,
it's a
because
little
the
bit
news
different.
is often fake news, and they can kind of
and it's very
play
generalized.
with the numbers, and they release it when they want to release it.
Yeah,
because they have an agenda.
Yeah,
like when do we want to scare people, but when and how? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
we don't have
100%.
to use real estate to scare people when there's a war going on.
100%.
We'll save that for later.
Yeah. When we have a slow news cycle, we're gonna pop you with this one.
We're gonna pop you. By the way, prices dropped 20%. Meanwhile, they've already went back up to $1 million.
Unemployment now is at 7.
It's they're talking about 2 months ago it dropped 20%. Yeah.
But the thing is like I had my wife in the other day because talking about growing a business out. So one of the things that I'm doing right now is I'm putting together my team because of a development strategy that I'm actually putting to work. Okay, this has been maybe 4 or 5 years of my plan in action and getting things 100% refined. Funds, legal representations, contractor partnerships, my dialers to dial specific properties, the zoning requirements, like plugging all the people into the spots because I have this business game plan that I have in my mind. I'm doing it 100%. And so I was having dinner with my wife, and in my mind, this is on top of my mind, and it was loud in this restaurant, and I couldn't really explain to her. I've been wanting to explain to her, hey, babe, here's something that I'm working on. I want you to be aware of it because I want your buy-in on this. Mm-hmm. And it was so loud I couldn't do it, right? But it was still on top of my mind. And for me, I'm thinking, dude, one of these deals, oh man, we're going to pop $1 million, $1.5 million. Bam. In that moment, I said, what if we can do this once a month? And I literally sat back. I'm like, oh shit, that's 15 mil a year. Mm-hmm. God damn. Mm-hmm. New problem. Oh, dude, that was like the motivator. When I sat there afterwards, I'm driving home. I don't drink, so I'm driving home. Couldn't really have this conversation with my wife. And I'm thinking to myself, how did this thought pop in your head right now, bro? Like, where did it come from? And it was sitting in rooms with people that think differently, that dare to dream big. And all they're doing is solving the gap. That's all they're doing.
So you're saying you feel that thought came into your head because like the restaurant you were at was like a higher restaurant?
From a lunch that I had 5 years prior at Dan Fleischman's $100 million club.
Oh.
From that.
I love how when I saw him into the story, he's going to get a kick out of this. Yeah, he's going to
kick out of this. But when you left, I wanted to ask you about it. I'm getting chills right now. I wanted to ask you about it because I know, knowing you, being there in that group is the same how I felt being in there and just seeing that different, the Carnegie thing. Mm-hmm. It's just like the decision making of this potential.
Yeah.
And it's somewhat overwhelming. Mm-hmm. Because now in the back of your mind, the subconscious part is like, am I worthy of this?
Yeah, yeah.
But
it's crazy because like I looked around and I was like, potentially every person here is more successful than me. In if you gauge it a certain way, right? Which a lot of people gauge it by, right? All of these people could probably sell their businesses for more than I could sell mine. All of these people are,
you're the poorest guy in the room.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
But then I noticed like other people would feel that way. Other people were feeling that way too. And then later on when everyone got real comfortable with each other and kind of let their guards down and weren't almost, the uncomfortability went away because you got to know people on a personal level. You start to realize that like one person would be talking about, oh, I really want to, take this thing public, but I don't know how to do this. And the next person would be like, that's what we do every day. I'll show you how we do it.
Right.
I went there and I said, yeah, I bought a bunch of exotic cars, but now they're not making me a lot of money and I'm kind of sitting on some of them. And he's like, well, here's what I do. And I was like, that's a great idea. I started implementing it today. I was like, geez, why am I not doing that? Like, and then he told me stuff about insurance and ways to get like commercial insurance, things like that. And I was just like, connect me with those people, and it's like, no matter what you did, there was wanted to do, there was someone there that was like, that's what they do.
Yeah.
And this one girl was talking about investments and the other guy was like, yeah, I've always wanted to do investments. She's like, oh, well, here's what you need to do. It like happened right in front of me. It's like, this is how you create a hedge fund. This is, if it's with real estate or with, certain types of investments, you don't need to create one because it's considered, personal property. But if it's these types of things, and it was just like, we make 8% per month. And I'm 8% per month. That means right? That means it's doubling. Yeah, we have the algo. And so far the algo averages 8% a month. And it's never going to vary too much from that because it's conservative. I'm like, that sounds aggressive, 8% a month. That's almost 100% per year. That means you're like, it's like the penny that doubles every year turns into $1 million after 20 years. It's like, that seems really fast.
Right.
And they're like, no, our investors love it. We take this and it was just like, wow, the people were really out there doing things like that. And so, it was really interesting to see how everyone kind of had different strengths. Adam was there. He's got the biggest business podcast in the world. Mm. Yeah, which you listen to, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So he's with what's the guy's name? He used to interview Kobe Bryant all the time. I can't believe I'm drawing a blank. Everyone calls him by 3 letters.
Patrick Bet David.
Patrick Bet David. So his right-hand man who does all the podcasts with him, he was there. And people were like, bro, is that Adam? And I'll be like, who's Adam? What are you talking about? And he was like the coolest guy ever, and like,
Yeah.
asking each other questions, and everybody was getting value from everyone there. Everyone was giving value. Even this girl that they hired, Brazilian girl, Marcel. Oh my gosh, she was the all-star, and she was just couldn't believe she was putting this together. This is like the highest end event she's ever done. She's new to this, like high-end event planning, like helping out like rich people do this type of stuff.
Yeah.
And she was, and she's just like nervous that there's a mistake here or this and that. And everyone was like, girl, you cry. I mean, I'm sure everyone went out there like wanting to hire her. Like, what do I got to do? Like, I was what do I got to do to get you to come to San Diego and work for Epic Five? Everyone. And so like, but we're also asking her questions. Like, what's it like? And when you're living in Miami and then coming here, not speaking the language well. And then now you have to learn Spanish because she's Brazilian. She didn't speak Spanish. Yeah. And so now she's learning 2 languages on top of Portuguese. Yeah. And it was just like, everyone was adding value. And then I always, I feel like it's a waste of a trip if I don't connect with the locals, because I think the most valuable part of the trip is to learn culture and the people. Yeah. And so I'm not the type to sit in a resort and stay in that resort the whole time. I want to go like meet the people. And so luckily,
but you're a grounded individual though.
Yeah. And that's what I want for my kids. It's one of the few things that have been proven to raise IQ is learning a language and culture. Mm-hmm. Like it's hard to increase your IQ, but that's guaranteed to do it. So that's why I like traveling with the kids. We learn about different cultures and how these people live. We never left the place, so it was like, oh, we're not going to get to do it. But there was so much staff there that I started hanging out with. I'd wake up in the morning and I'd go right to them and I'm like, hey, what's up? And they'd be, they were calling me Tarzan and Aquaman. And I saw the text going through between the planners and they were like, does this work for Tarzan? And then the first day they were calling me Tarzan. The second day they were calling me Aquaman. And so all the text threads, one of the girls showed me, it was like, look, they're trying to figure out what to make for you to eat. Yeah. And it's like Aquaman, blah, 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 Aquaman. It was just like, but I was wanting to talk to them and see what they do, and I'm exchanging Instagrams with them, and they're showing we go off-roading and we do all this crazy stuff here, and you would like hanging out with us. Oh, is that your business? You have like extreme adventure business? Like, no, I'm a chef, but this is what we do for fun. It's like, bro, I'm coming back and hanging out with you guys. Yeah. They got these like dune buggies, like literally going underwater and then having to get pulled out by another 4-wheeler and like crazy stuff.
But I think that's one of the biggest reasons why I started doing the podcast, because I found now that I always have these interesting conversations with people like you, right? And all my friends, all different people, but starting to realize that everyone has the opportunity, like the Think and Grow Rich. Everyone has the opportunity for asking someone that owns a business, just take them out to lunch. Just find out. When I was at your event back in March, I met the guy that had the Converse company that they bought Converse. Jim.
Yeah. He bought Converse when it was going bankrupt.
Yeah. So we're having tacos.
Built it up and sold it. Yeah.
And I was asking him.
Now he owns Cali Strong. If you guys haven't seen Cali Strong,
yeah. I
get
my son some of the hats.
Yeah. But skateboards, hats.
It was strange though, because I was, one of the conversations that we were talking about was what he saw value in that company before buying the company. And the little things that he had to go through, that, taking shoes and making them in China, and the shoe quality was better than the ones that they were making in like Michigan, because they didn't care in Michigan, but it looked more handmade and it changed sales. Like these little intricate things, and you stop and you listen though, like the attention to detail, the name brand recognition was the whole thing, and the soul of the company and how it represented of its craftsmanship and the reasons why. And so when they were going to go to sell the Nike, he's like, that's what we told them. And had we not told them specifically what we saw within the company, why it meant so much, Nike is notorious to either just ghost you or they'll buy it like in 24, 48 hours. Mm-hmm. And he goes, in this time, they were like at 48 hours. And he's like, they're never coming back to us. What they did was, I guess they reanalyzed. They were going to give them an initial offer. They had to pause, reanalyze, up the offer, and then came back. But all because of staying true to the name, not the quality, the type of quality that it was representing, that inner city roots. Everybody knew it. Your grandfather had a pair of Converse. Like, you know what I mean? They didn't change the styling. We stayed true to it. and that's what they appreciated. I was like, wow. And this is over just some tacos.
Yeah.
I'm like, awesome. Authenticity, check.
Yeah.
Don't be something that you're not. Don't, and it's okay to level up. No problem.
Yeah.
Just stay true inside and evolve and get better.
Right. I mean, growth should be part of your authentic self. So like a lot of people are like, I'm keeping it real by staying in the hood and staying with the same friends and doing the same stuff I've always done. It's like, no, man, it's like every religion talks about growth, like personal growth, whatever.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like, that's part of it. You should be striving to get better at something always.
There's a huge, and I'm glad you said that. There's a huge difference of being authentic and stagnant.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people confuse the two. Stagnant is unwilling to change, right? You're not going to change. This is the way I am. I'm always been this way. I grew up this way. My mom was like this. My dad was like this. I was raised in the hood. I'm always going to be hood. That's stagnant thinking.
Yeah.
When one of the things that I did by accident as a kid, I grew up in the east side of San Jose. And so I used to love going mountain biking. And when I would go mountain biking, I would go to the east side or west side to like Los Gatos and to Almaden. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Northern California. Mm-hmm. So Almaden, Los Gatos was like La Jolla. Okay. So
you go to the nicer neighborhoods.
Because it was just nice. And it was up in the mountains.
Yeah.
Right? So I would just go mountain biking in the mountains.
Yeah.
But then when I would come down, I'd drive past like the Ferrari dealership and, you go into like the little shop to get something to drink or whatever. And so I just liked going out there. It wasn't a matter of me trying to get exposure to be in the affluent neighborhood. It just happened to be like, this is good.
Yeah.
This is good. So I remember I took my cousin with me one time, had my mom's old Buick Regal. We drove out there, and this is when they still had attendants pumping your gas. Well, on the east side, they didn't pump gas. You pumped your own gas.
Mm-hmm.
But out there, they still had attendants pumping gas. We were young. I was maybe like 19.
Yeah.
Dude comes out, and he asks, he's like, where are you guys from? And I'm like, oh, we're from east side San Jose. He's like, oh, I heard it's really bad over there. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, whoa. That was like the first.
Yeah.
Wait. Wow, I'm out of my fishbowl.
Yeah.
Wait. I'm out of my fishbowl. Holy shit. I'm out of my fishbowl. Dude, let me show you around. So I'm taking my cousin. I'm like, check out the Ferrari dealership. We get out looking at Ferraris. I think as humans, we need to do that.
Yeah.
You know
how many, I was really tight with the owners of Symbolic Motors. I would be there all the time and I would ask so many questions and they would just be like, here goes Jason again. He wants to know everything about every car, knowing damn well he can't afford no $500,000 car.
Yeah, it's okay.
And it was just like, but you do that for so long and now I own all those cars. You know what I mean?
Right,
and it's just like, it took some seed planting. It took a little bit of touching the steering wheel and having them bring those cars to the shows and everyone thinking they're mine and me just being like, okay, this is what it would feel like if they were mine until just a couple years ago. Now it's like, that is my car.
Yeah.
Yes, that one is too. And it's just like, yeah, it was different, but you have to, those are cheat codes to the visualization process.
Yeah.
Meaning that you can visualize it in your head a lot, but cut one out and put it on your vision board just in case. That way when you go to get something out of your closet and it's sitting there, you go to get something out of your nightstand and there's a picture of it. It's just planting the seeds, It's just.
But you got to go and be conscious of it, though.
Yeah,
because
and then go test drive.
Go and get ratchet, right? Mm-hmm. They're in those areas, but you got to be like the Indage. Don't go in there and bring that with you. Don't bring the trash with you.
Yeah,
go in there with a bit of humility.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that you're a sellout or anything of that nature.
No, you feel it.
You feel it.
Test drive that car your dream car and put your hands on the steering wheel. And if you can't, then close your eyes and imagine, like they talk about in The Secret, like put your hands on it and feel it.
Right.
And what does the engine feel like? And
it's ironic because some of the comments that I had on YouTube, they were saying how, oh, dude, if I had a Ferrari, I'd YOLO, I'd do this, I'd do that. And I'm like, man, that is small thinking. Can you do that? Absolutely.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, there's people so rich that it's throwaway money.
For sure. Yeah. You can go in Dubai. I'm sure they're littered in the desert.
Dan Bilzerian was like driving his Lambo around the desert, just destroying it with sand everywhere.
Yeah.
But
until I get to even if I get to the fuck you money or anything like that, that's a completely different. I mean, I wouldn't do it with a Lambo. I'd probably do, I don't know, H1 Hummer and just, well, I've done that before.
Yeah.
I've been in the military, just beat the shit out of it. But, I guess the point is really the experience of going to the Dominican, going with that type of group of people is a real life version of Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah.
You're there amongst successful people that are giving you an insight of whatever particular insight of their specialty is.
Yeah.
And being attuned to taking that information back.
Yeah.
And that's it.
And it's cool. And every single person had some type of invite. If you're ever, and these people were from all over, if you're ever in Georgia, if you're ever in Baltimore, if you're ever in, this area, that Calabasas, whatever, it's like, I got you.
Hit me up.
Brian Page was like, if you're ever in my neck of the woods, like, here's my yacht. And he pulled out like his yacht. I was like, gee, this is a beautiful yacht. He's like, I only have this because I couldn't afford the next one. And I went too new. He was like, I thought I wanted a newer yacht so it wouldn't have problems. But now I realize I could have bought a 100-foot plus yacht if I would have been a few years old. And it's better to go old because they all have problems anyway. He's like, and no one could tell your yacht's from the 90s or from 2023 usually. Like, they're all nice.
They're all nice,
They get upgraded and stuff. And so he's like, so my next yacht I'm buying is going to be bigger. And he's like, I would rather drop $10 million on a yacht. You learn a lot about people. He said, I'd rather drop $10 million on a yacht than a mansion 10 times out of 10. And I was like, that's interesting. He's like, I love yachts. So if you guys come, you can stay. And everyone was like, all right, you got New Year's open? I'm going to stay on there New Year's. I'm going to bring my kids on this date. And like, he was just like, absolutely, like, it's yours, Yeah. And so everybody just had that invite where it's like everyone there was family to everyone else. And it was like, and the invites, whenever you have that caliber of people, are way cooler. We can all relate to progress. Go on. Like, that's our jam, you know?
Yeah.
And then whenever somebody else was talking about, the athletes that they put and get them to manage their money, like one guy works with, NBA and NFL athletes, and he's got millions of dollars of their money that he, deploys and make sure that they're learning about this stuff. And so they can actually retire. If they get injured first season, they've already got enough money to where if you play your cards right, you can retire. And so he's like best friends with all of these athletes and stuff because he grew up where they grew up. He played the same sports. It's they slept on each other's couches when they grow up. So they have a different level of trust from him than the 90-year-old or the 70-year-old white guy in a suit or whatever that
thinks he's going to get taken advantage of.
Yeah, they can't quite relate to.
You're going to speak to me on terms I don't understand.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And so everyone there was just like, wow, that's interesting. And, there's this guy, Medina from India, and he started, special contract, with the government, security contracts and stuff. And he's trying to buy like hundreds of units of properties in America. It was just like, wow, like it made my real estate ambitions go way higher. Like I'm playing small, trying to buy houses and fourplexes and stuff. And this guy's like looking, started doing houses and then multi-units and bought a whole bunch of those. And now he's like, now I'm looking for apartments, like big apartments.
Yeah.
And so, you learn something from everyone, whether it was in your area of expertise or something completely different. Like they were, the word that kept coming up a whole lot was family offices. I was like, family offices, what is this lingo for? And it was, it's like rich people call it the family office where they're managing your money. It's different from a different office, but is it really a family office? It's not really a family. And it was just like, that term came up so many times. I've never used that term in my life. I got to go dig and research this stuff more because if it's so common amongst these multimillionaires, it's probably something that I should get a grasp on so I don't feel dumb in the conversations or just be completely out of it to where I can't pay attention because I don't know their lingo.
Yeah, ultimately, I think bottom line, and I forget because the crazy thing is I love what you're saying right now, bro. So I forget that we have people that eventually be learning from what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. I think the bottom line is get out of your comfort zone and try to find sphere of people that are at a different altitude in life.
Yeah.
And just be a sponge.
Get comfortable being uncomfortable. Today I was like, I'm doing a cold shower. Cause like, I did my little workout in my room. I posted something on my Instagram of like, cause I had to hobble. I was like, I'm not going to make it all the way to the gym because I can barely walk and I got to get my son to school early today. Cause they want to do like a special orientation with all the staff after him being suspended and make sure it was,
Do you know Dr. Huberman?
Yeah.
Watch the podcast, bro.
Yeah.
I learned so much stuff from that guy.
He has a lot of good info.
Oh, tons, dude. Tons. I like it because you know what? It's not bro science. It's
Right.
true science.
Yeah, he's always looking at the latest data. And research,
and the
then trying to
data.
figure out how to apply it.
Interesting.
But today I was like, I need to get out of my comfort zone a little bit. I just got really pampered in Dominican Republic. And so I just put a cold shower on, and it was uncomfortable as heck. I was like, oh, this is so cold, and it's so easy to just, but little things like that in your day. Waking up early
That
to
was
go
your
work
back
out.
to reality flash.
Yeah, back to reality. Cold shower. Because even the water
Wake
over there
up.
was so warm. They're like,
Yeah,
is it
yeah.
cold? I was like, it's the same temperature as the air. The water's 80 degrees. It's not like here where you got to use a little self-discipline to get in the water. But yeah, getting out of your comfort zone, whether that means to contact, they say that I think Tim Ferriss has a quote in his book. He said, the thing that feels uncomfortable to do is probably the thing you need to do the most.
Wow.
And for some people, that's the workout. For some people, it's a phone conversation where you're like, a
relative that you've been
even,
pushing off.
I want another sponsor for Epic Fighting. Well, I got to call, business owners and stuff and express the value that I'm going to give to them.
Right.
And sometimes that's a conversation that's not as fun to have as calling the friend like, hey, bro, I haven't talked to you in a while. What'd you do this weekend? How's business? How's this? How's that?
Yeah.
But if you have that same conversation with someone that's maybe not your bro that you talk to all the time, but we're introduced or something, it could turn into a relationship that benefits you both from a business standpoint.
I still don't know why somebody hasn't taken advantage of a clothing line with you guys. Like actually sponsors straight up, like they're the exclusive clothing line company.
We've had it in the past.
There's some really good
ones.
But
the thing with the clothing companies is 90-something% of them fail. And so it's tough to, you need one that's already kind of established, I would say.
You need a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need like a good one. There's a few good ones out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also, even though the bigger ones, like you have to...
You ever try that ASRV stuff? Not a plug for ASRV. Because I have a couple of my buddies, you haven't met them yet. My buddy Antoine's been on our podcast before, and Quest. They both did modeling for this ASRV. Oh. Dude, I tried on their outfit. Bro, it's like Lululemon for men.
Oh, yeah?
But like men. So it's a completely different cut, high-tech stuff, sweat wicking. Like, it's like legit stuff. Like, it's legit. You try it out.
I'll look into it, yeah.
Yeah, no joke.
But yeah, we've had a lot of apparel sponsors over the years, but most of them,
I would put it on the higher end. It's not like it's super expensive on the higher end kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But it's ironic though, because when you see other people who are professionals in their game, don't buy it. Don't buy things necessarily just because some popular celebrities pushing it. The end user, the guys who are training really hard and what they like to use, right? Talk to them and using that kind of stuff. But that was like the feedback, right? Mm-hmm. And I was like, man, and you wear it and it's completely different. And just from sweating and when you train really hard.
Is that a local?
They opened one up close by here. Yeah, I'll get you the info. Yeah. Super dope stuff.
Yeah, that's cool.
But yeah, man.
Just speaking of apparel, Mulatto Designs are the ones that like they're not an apparel company. They're like a silk screen and embroidery. So I went straight from there to here, and I brought them like 1,000 different garments and stuff that are going to have like the Epic logo, and gave them all the bikinis for the ring girls and all that fun stuff.
Sick. That's our cue, bro.
That's our cue.
That's it.
Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you get some nuggets out of that.
Bro, it was reinforcement.
Yeah.
To me, that was a lot of reinforcement because hearing some of the things that you mentioned reinforces staying in that high wavelength of frequency.
I love it.
And the power of yes.
Power of yes.
We out.